Hello, welcome to Old Nerd Reads' Marvel Comics in Order, episode 14, uh, Iron Fist #1. Now, that title, I'm being a little lazy. This is not only Iron Fist #1, it's also the final issue of Marvel Premiere that Iron Fist appeared in. Iron Fist had been in Marvel Premiere from number 15, and so, what is that, 11 issues? He was in Marvel Premiere. Went through a lot of writers while he was in Marvel Premiere in those 10, 11 issues. Chris Claremont wrote the last 3 issues. And this is 25. This is the last issue, written by Chris Claremont and penciled by John Byrne. This is the two's first collaboration before they went on to fame and fortune with the Uncanny X-Men. And that's why this is in my collection. As I've mentioned before, I tried to pick up anything John Byrne. He's probably, if not my favorite artist, definitely a close second. So that's why I have these. They're cool. I'm glad that I have them, and I'm not getting rid of them, of course. But if John Byrne hadn't drawn these issues, I probably wouldn't be interested in them. Anyway, on with the story. This last issue of Marvel Premiere. Apparently, this is John Byrne's first. Well, I don't know if this is his first work for Marvel, but this is very early work for him. In the letters page, they actually mention John Byrne in answer to a letter about the artwork. I guess the last 2 issues had been penciled by Pat Broderick, who's a really cool penciler as well. I don't know what his work looked like, though, back in this time frame. Anyway, this is John Byrne's first issue, and they talk up the person who wrote the letter talks about Pat Broderick's art, and they say, we hope that you find our latest artist find, Canadian John Byrne, a suitable replacement for Pat Broderick. So this is very early John Byrne. He didn't do the covers. I think these are Gil Kane covers. But right off the bat, John Byrne's excellent pencils from the 70s. Al McWilliams is the inker. And I don't know this guy. I don't remember seeing his name before. He doesn't do a bad job inking Byrne, but doesn't do a great job either. Some panels are better than others. Like, I like the way the rocks look. I think he did a good job on them, but when you get to the face, he kind of lays it on pretty thick. And John Byrne was he was a pretty fine penciler, pretty fine tipped. Didn't do a lot of heavy blocking or anything like that. And so this guy laying the inks on it that heavy, I don't care for, but he only does it a little bit here and there, not all the time. This is a pretty good story. Iron Fist has, in the previous issue, saved a princess, an Oriental princess. This is her bodyguard, who Iron Fist shamed because it was his duty to save the princess, because he's basically the princess's bodyguard, and it's a sacred obligation to him. And since Iron Fist saved the princess instead of him, he's mad and he's trying to kill him for it. And the princess stops him and tells tells Iron Fist she'd like to see him again, and that's the end of that. He hops in a car, and there's 2 goons watching him, and it looks like the shady bad guy almost could be the Kingpin, except I think he's got hair, so the Kingpin doesn't have hair. We'll see. Anyway, he's got these guys following Iron Fist. And they also mentioned in the letters page how this is John Byrne's first attempt at martial arts action, drawing martial arts, and I think he did great. This issue, and especially that issue, really highlight, since I've been reading the few comics that I own in my collection prior to this, they were some of the last age of artists. Sal Buscema. Who else has there been? It's been a lot of Sal Buscema. Who else have I seen do the art? In Fantastic Four, Rich Buckler and a little bit of John Buscema, but very clunky, or not clunky, cartoony, more cartoony 70s style. And John Byrne, he kind of ushers in the 80s style that Marvel was known for. And you can see that particularly in the first issue of Iron Fist, but you can see it some here with his choice of angles, his choice of framing. Uh, this is starting to look like a modern comic, not so much a Bronze Age comic anymore, but a modern age, whatever comes after Bronze Age, I forget. But the Bronze Age is basically bisected by the modern art style of the 80s and the original Kirby house style of the 70s. And John Byrne was kind of the leader of that, I think. He handles the Steve Ditko type, trippy, surreal type dream sequences real well. Angar the Screamer is one of the bad guys here. Last seen in Daredevil 107. I'm not sure how long before that this would have been. He definitely looks like a flower power child of the 60s. That's his character design looks to me. So this would be what, 5 years after the 60s, 6 years after the 60s. And I don't know if I know I've heard the name Angar the Screamer. Apparently he's able to control men's minds. That's why Iron Fist is having these trippy dreams. But I don't know much about Angar the Screamer, other than he looks like a 60s like hippie flower child type. Oh, and this stands soapbox in the bullpen bulletins. They announced that Jack Kirby has returned to Marvel after he left and gone to DC for a few years. So this is announcing Jack Kirby's return to Marvel, and specifically he's taking over Captain America. So I have a few of those issues. We'll get into those soon. Finds out that some of the bad guys had a Stark International identification. So that's how this issue ends. So this is the last issue that Iron Fist is in Marvel Premiere. He's graduating into his own monthly title. Next month, Hercules, Prince of Power, will be the star of Marvel Premiere. Get your Foom subscription and some binoculars from back when men were men. And the next month, there came out Iron Fist #1. And this copy is probably very fine minus. I wish it was better, but I have it, and I'm good with it. But right off the bat, see, this is what I'm talking about, the 80s Marvel style of art. The splash page is all John Byrne. This is the way things looked in the 80s in the Marvel comics. And this is what, 75. So John Byrne's kind of ushering in this look of this new house style, taking over from the Kirby house art style. And Kirby was a big influence on Byrne. So even though he kind of bumped him out of the way as far as the Marvel house art style goes, he was influenced by him very heavily. It's fantastic face. Like John Byrne's earlier than what did he draw? He drew some for Charlton Comics. Did he draw some titles? Some like he'd done a few comics before this, indie comics, and they were really well done. I think he did all the art, like he inked himself basically, and the artwork in those is really fantastic stuff. And this inker lays it on a little too heavy in spots, but still Byrne's style stands right out. So Iron Fist is now deep in the heart of the New York City Stark International plant. He runs into Misty Knight, who later him and Colleen Wing and Power Man, I think they all form the Heroes for Hire agency with. But this is just prior to that, I believe. Somebody was assassinated. This alerts Tony Stark that there's intruders in the building. And of course, he's got to jump into his Union suit, his Iron Man armor. Colleen Wing almost escapes from her captors, but she runs into a strange man with this tattooed on his chest. Marvel value stamp, Submariner. Yeah, like I don't know that this is the best example of John Byrne drawing Iron Man at all, ever, but and I don't think I could blame this on the inker either. Just probably his first attempt at drawing Iron Man, and not bad. Not great either. This is interesting. This is a DC and Marvel joint production. It's Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer proudly present MGM's Marvelous Wizard of Oz. It's a treasury-sized edition. Most of the people did work for both Marvel and DC, so I don't know. This must have come out just prior to them doing like the Superman versus Spider-Man and the Batman versus Hulk comics that they did. I don't know if this is their very first collaboration or not, but it's just weird. It doesn't really, I never saw anything in the bullpen bulletins about, they talked about The Wizard of Oz was coming out, but they didn't say that it was a co-production with DC Comics. So this is just kind of strange to me. I don't understand, unless it's I don't think Warner Brothers was involved with DC Comics at this time and MGM. So I don't know. Strange. If anybody knows, please comment. Pretty decent fight between Iron Fist and Iron Man. And again, just his John Byrne's layouts, shades of things to come for Marvel's house art style. Very modern, very polished for the 70s, I think, anyway. I'm sure other people would disagree, but that's my feeling on it. Again, like, he kind of gets Iron Man. Kind of messes up the face, though. The faceplate is just not quite right. Not bad, but not quite right either. Looks cool, though, I guess. Just not the way you're used to seeing Iron Man. Great page. All right, let's see if we can guess who the artist is. I'm guessing Sal Buscema. Wendigo up here looks like Sal Buscema drew him. And Hulk's face, and even the kids, makes me think Sal Buscema. Does anybody know? That's my guess. Iron Man just about has Iron Fist dead to rights, but gets stopped by Misty Knight. And find out that she's discovered that Tony Stark isn't involved in the kidnapping of Colleen Wing at all. And Iron Man would love to help, but he's got things to do. So it's up to Iron Fist to follow the clues and find his friend. And that's it for these two. I think Iron Fist was supposed to be a monthly title, but there's like a 2-month break before Iron Fist #2 comes out. So that'll be in an upcoming video, because I think I have most of, well, I think I definitely at least have the John Byrne drawn issues of Iron Fist. So him and Chris Claremont worked on this title, and I think Chris Claremont was also writing the X-Men at the time. And then when John Byrne left Iron Fist, he went with Chris over and did the X-Men for a couple of years. And of course, rewrote history. And yeah, that's these two. Iron Fist #1, plus Marvel Premiere #25, the last issue of the title to star Iron Fist. the first issue to showcase Chris Claremont and John Byrne working together, and Chris Claremont and John Byrne continuing in the main title. So if I got anything wrong, or if you can fill in any of the gaps in anything I said, please comment down below. I'd love to hear the stuff that you've got to say about these comics. And please stick around. I've got a lot farther to go in this project of reading my Marvel comics in order. I'm just basically just getting started. So please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.